Welcome to House Edge. Before we start the episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. And check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and Discord at House Edge Bet. Links down below. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome back to House Edge. It's your boy Rob. And first off, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your loved ones. I wish you all, a big plate of food, some ham, mac and cheese, sweet potato pie, and you stay away from them dry turkeys. But in all seriousness, I'm here to give you my NFL Week 12 and college football rivalry week picks. But before we can get into the picks, let's go and look at how we did last week. So we went 2-3 in the NFL and 1-3 in college football. Awful, terrible week after a couple consecutive weeks of winning. But we're going to bounce right back with this slate. So let's get right into it with our NFL picks. So we're going to start off with the Eagles, -3 versus the Bills. I got the Eagles coming off a great win against the Chiefs, going on the road. The Bills, they also look great against the Jets, but, it's the Jets. Zach Wilson is horrendous, and that shows by him getting benched this week. I'm going to take the complete team of the Eagles to go out there and beat up on the Bills, who are way too dependent on Josh Allen for everything they do offensively. The Eagles can win in a multitude of ways: running, pass, short pass, screen plays, defense. So give me the Bills. Give me the Eagles, -3. Next up, we got the Patriots, -3.5 versus the Giants. I really can't believe that I'm pressing the button on the Patriots this week. But against the Giants, you kind of have to. We got the Patriots coming off a bye week. I fully expect that Bill Belichick is going to have the game plan ready to go out there and beat on New York, who is starting Tommy DeVito. He played great last week, but I'm sorry. We won't see another 3-touchdown week from Tommy DeVito ever again. Next up, I got the Ravens, -4 versus the Chargers. Not only are the Ravens one of the best teams in football, right behind the Eagles, the Chargers are just abysmal, man. They go and lose to the Packers last week, another loss by less than 4 or 3 points. And the Ravens don't play. They don't play with their food. They have one of the largest point differentials of the NFL. I fully expect that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to run all over the Chargers defense and take this win by more than 4 points. Next up, we got Cowboys, -12.5 versus the Commanders. I usually don't like such big spreads, especially in rivalry games, division games, but it's just clear. The Cowboys beat up on bad teams. You got a shutout against the Giants, a blowout against the Giants. They go out there and blow out the Panthers, blow out the Rams. If you're a bad team, the Cowboys are not going to just beat you. They're going to demolish you. 12.5 points isn't enough. Shout out to everybody that got a 10.5. Lock this in before it moves to 14. Next up, I got the under 35.5 in the Cleveland and Denver Broncos game. The Broncos defense has really started to show last year's form. They're not the Denver Broncos that got put up 70 on. And that Cleveland defense is generational. One of the best defense that we've seen in a long time. I expect both offenses to struggle on top of Cleveland not having Deshaun Watson at their services. And last for my NFL picks, I got Jacksonville, -1.5 versus the Texans. Jacksonville is a team that went and got beat by the Texans at home last week. I expect in this rivalry, this division game, that they'll bounce back. You can't go out there and get beat twice by your division rival. And Trevor Lawrence, I'll take Trevor Lawrence over CJ Stroud, even though he's been playing amazing this season. To recap my NFL plays, I have the Eagles, -3 versus the Bills. Patriots, -3.5 versus the Giants. Ravens, -4 versus the Chargers. Cowboys, -12.5 versus the Commanders. The under, 35.5 in the Cleveland and Denver game, and Jaguars -1.5 versus the Texans. Over to our college football plays. College football rivalry week, guys. It's a big week here, and I have some big plays for you guys on this slate. I have a 3-unit and a 2-unit play on this card. These are absolute locks. Both of them in the same game, and it's the game. Michigan versus Ohio State. I'm taking Michigan -3.5, 3 units. This Ohio State team cannot stick with Michigan. I think this is going to be an absolute blowout by Michigan. They have a chip on their shoulder with Jim Harbaugh being suspended, on top of being overall the better team. They have a better quarterback, better running game. There's question marks on the offensive line with some injuries, but I fully expect them to cover that up for this week. Next up, I got under 46 in that game. One thing that both of these teams do well is defense. I expect this to be a very gritty game. We won't see tons of points, though I see, Michigan winning this about, by 2 scores. Next up, we have Iowa +2.5 versus Nebraska. I'm looking at Nebraska's schedule, and I can't see a single quality win by Nebraska. And Iowa's defense has been lights out every game, hasn't slipped, not once. What are we doing here? Giving the points to Iowa? Please take them. That's an easy lock. Then I have Penn State -21 versus Michigan State. This Michigan State team can't catch a break. Against the big 3 of the Big Ten and Ohio State, Michigan and Ohio State, I think each one of those teams are at least a 20-point favorite against them. So I'm going to take Penn State to sneak out the 21. I also have Arizona -11 versus Arizona State. Arizona State is one of the worst teams in the Pac-12, and we have Arizona, who has been on a great comeback streak it's on the second half of this season, beating up tons of ranked teams in Utah and USC. I got Arizona. And last, I'm going to say sorry. Sorry, Debo. You were right. You went on that radio station, you got rah-rah, and then you must have went rah-rah to your players because they've looked different these last couple of weeks. You go out there, you beat UNC by 11. I think it's easily that you'll win. Clemson will win -7 versus South Carolina. To recap our rivalry week slate, I have Michigan -3.5 versus Ohio State. That's going to be a 3-unit play. The under 46 in that game, that's going to be a 2-unit play. Iowa +2.5 versus Nebraska. Penn State -21 versus Michigan State. Arizona -11 versus Arizona State. Clemson -7 versus South Carolina. Now let's get into our parlay portion of the show. Starting off with college football, I have a 2-leg +579 parlay for you guys. 2 upsets: Virginia moneyline versus Virginia Tech, and Florida moneyline versus Florida State. Starting off with Virginia, I think Virginia has been playing great these last couple of weeks. Getting wins over UNC and Duke. And then you have a couple close losses to both Miami and Louisville. Virginia Tech hasn't looked nearly as good against the top competition in the ACC. And I think with Virginia's momentum plus being at home, they can sneak out that upset over Virginia Tech. And for the Florida game, this is just a straight up home field advantage play, on top of Florida State losing their star quarterback in Jordan Travis. I don't think Florida State is going to be ready to go into the swamp and get that win, and this will ruin their college football hopes. I got Florida to win this game. To my NFL parlay, I have a 5-leg +815 parlay, all money lines. I got 49ers versus the Seahawks. Take that 49ers offense to beat the Seahawks. Lions over the Packers on Thanksgiving Day. The Lions have been a much better team this season. I expect them to win on Thanksgiving. We got the Broncos versus the Browns. I don't think that the Browns will be able to put up enough offense to get past Denver, who has just as good of a defense as them over recent weeks. We got the Eagles money line versus the Bills. As I stated before, Eagles are the best team in football. I'll take them to beat the Bills at home. And the Steelers money line versus the Bengals. Matt Canada just got fired. I think the Steelers' offense is going to improve immensely, and we already know that they have a great pass defense, and it's not like the Bengals are going to be with Joe Burrow. So that includes my parlay plus 815. Lock it in. And to recap my parlays, first up, college football, the upset parlay, Virginia money line versus Virginia Tech, and Florida money line versus Florida State. We're going to follow that up on NFL Sunday with a five-legger for plus 815. It's going to be 49ers, Lions, Broncos, Eagles, Steelers, all money line, plus 815. I almost forgot to record a closeout. That's all I have for you guys here today, folks. You have a happy Thanksgiving, and Burke and I will be back with you guys together next week. Have a good day.